The following article is trying to discover if branding is an effective tool for generating shareholder wealth for companies that are active in business-to-business environment, or if other factors such as innovation and manufacturing efficiency or lack of it create or destroy shareholder wealth. The following study reveals this crucial relationship that could be described as W-shaped curve with 5 phases, depending on strategic branding position of the company. So phase 1 focuses on why shareholders do not pay attention to branding. Over the last few decades, the topic of branding has had increasing interest. However, little research has been conducted on the link between branding and the financial performance of companies in B2B context. Research has been conducted in business-to-consumer activities, while industrial branding has been neglected. There have been claims that challenge the widely known perception that branding always creates wealth, and suggest how it can be a major cause of wealth destruction for shareholders. Branding is becoming more and more important in regard to product survival, since companies face the universal challenge of having both quality standards and manufacturing costs. In case of international competition, branding can be the last resource of a company competing in the industrial field to achieve a sustainable competitive advantage. A well-positioned and powerful brand provides an effective barrier against competitors. Following phase 1, phase 2 is in regard to branding in B2B context and its difference from B2B activities. There is a big difference in marketing orientation between companies that produce consumer goods versus industrial goods or services. In B2B context, there is a long-term cooperation, while in business to consumer, the focus is more towards short-term marketing mix and segmentation models. In B2B, segment companies and suppliers are closely interlinked. In product versus corporate branding, the line between corporate and product brands have always been unclear. Some companies follow a one-brand strategy, while most fast-moving brands such as Nestle, Procter & Gamble, and Kraft have a wide variety of brands. The decision of a company to use one brand as opposed to many is more tactical than strategic.
Throughout history, there has been many definitions of brand equity, but they are too narrow in scope when aiming to measure branding and shareholder performance in a B2B context. According to the article, the study states that corporate branding expenditures refers to all marketing, administrative costs, and distribution costs together with direct and indirect marketing expenditures. Today, roughly about 80% of a firm's assets are non-material or intangible. Such values will be reported to shareholders consistently. This also applies to R&D expenses, patent registration, and other immaterial assets. In reality, it's different because only few companies have instituted a systematic program of analysis which allows them to gauge their brand's performance and, more importantly, to link them to business performance measures and report back their findings to the shareholder. One weakness that most companies face is that they still lack a way of measuring brand performance, even though 97% of all CEOs claim that their main objective is to create and increase shareholder value. In phase 1, minimal branding activities tend to achieve a below-average return because they are too limited, yielding a negative financial impact. Furthermore, the company has short-term difficulties in achieving economies of scale from a branding perspective. One way to overcome this weakness would be to develop a specific company or industry model which would measure and benchmark branding expenditures and financial performance against key competitors. Many B2B enterprises focuses on a technical innovation or adapted product concept. The internal focus is on technical and manufacturing aspects and sales activity that can be best described as pull-driven.
I will be talking about brand focus. In phase 2, the technical strength and superiority of the company often starts to be recognized, not only locally but through international sales. It is frequently a segment leader and a sustainable competitive position in its field, and the company starts focusing on branding, using 2 to 5% of their resources to these new activities, and consequently sales grow rapidly. The research proved how there is a positive correlation between branding activities and financial performance in these situations. An example is how companies in the brand focus segment include Ricardo, that has a unique combination of product innovation and branding, such that it has succeeded in becoming a leader supplying engineering solutions to companies in the transport sector. The article also talks about brand heaven. Companies gain international synergy as companies achieve a larger scale through branding activities in marketing different segments. It is often seen in many US or Japanese multinationals. It also achieves a stronger strategic position as the returns increase. This explains how there is a positive balance between the current branding investment and market position. In phase 4, the brand obtains a solid position whereby shareholders and clients enjoy an optimal situation called brand heaven. The article concludes with lessons that need to be learned for shareholders. Shareholders in the B2B field must make sure not only that innovations and product leadership result in a competitive advantage, but also that branding expenditures are treated as an investment that must yield an adequate return. Shareholders should insist on systematic performance feedback from the corporation on key financial ratios, including branding, to avoid major strategic and economic problems, according to the research. Shareholders should also insist on receiving a report regarding where the prevailing strategic optimum level of branding activities and expenditures exists for the corporation. According to the article, there is a significant correlation between branding and financial performance. It is evident that re-engineering of branding strategies is needed for many companies in the B2B environment. Branding is not the only way to establish a competitive edge, but it could also provide an incremental advantage that has not been exploited in the past. Thank you for listening to our video, and stay tuned for next time.